on. I got my real tree camo and scent block on. My kids right beside me in my tree stand.
Well, if you just saw that video that came on right there, that's what we're talking about tonight. We're here at AutoFX with Scott, and we appreciate you watching Red Dirt Roots Live. What we're going to do tonight is we're talking about something that's kind of exciting, or at least I think it's real exciting. I know Scott will. They changed the law, and I might have you explain it to us. They changed the law where you can make your ATV, UTV street legal. And I know when we go hunting a lot of times we have a lease, and we have one section we go on, and for the longest time what we've always done is hopefully we don't get caught, we slip out onto the road, we run around about 2 miles and just cross our fingers that we're not get caught, because we will get a ticket if we get caught.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of guys that have got caught, you know, and you just pay the ticket and go on. But now you can actually make your street vehicle street legal on everything, from, if I understand correctly, except for interstates. All state highways and county and city roads, it's legal to go on. I know I live in Yukon, and I've seen quite a few down there. Somebody was telling me they were down at Bricktown. Was it you? No, it's my wife. So my wife was talking about it. She was, they had to go down to Bricktown for something, and there was like a whole string of them going down through there all together. So the nice thing about it, though, is there's a lot of places that I go to where, for example, we go down to below the dam at Eufaula Dam, and we'll put off our vehicle or our ATVs off below the dam at that ATV area. But then we'll go down and fish a little while. Well, we want to go around to Whitefield Bridge. It's just a few miles down the road, but we got to go back and load up the vehicle, or load up the ATV on the vehicle, pull the vehicle around. Where what we could do is run down the, just run back up, run on the road, and go right back around. Or we can go down the river. We don't want to. I've been on the river where we got stuck down there because the water. You know, we heard the horn blow, but we're still far enough down that we're not going to make it back before.
Yeah.
And now we can just go ahead and go on down to Whitefield Bridge and not have to go like bats out of you know where, trying to get back before the water gets too high to cross the last crossing. Because there has been times that we just got a vehicle stuck, and we literally had to wait one time till the next day, and we just camped out and kept an eye on our vehicles because we couldn't. We're on the wrong side of the river, and there's a big place, no place to get the ATVs out of there, and we camped out and watched them, make sure the river didn't come up enough to flood them, and got them up as far as the bank as we could get them, and just left them there.
That's
you know,
scary.
and so it's a little scary. Well, this is going to solve all of that.
Yeah, we think so. Good or bad, the state decided to legalize ATVs, UTVs, side by sides, whatever you want to call them, on the roads. Now, I think the biggest thing that we run into is confusion of what equipment you got to have on these things. And everybody, kind of knows you need some turn signals, you need brake lights, marker lights, headlights, stuff of that nature. The state, basically what the state started out saying is that you have to have four tires on the ground, or 4 tires with contact patch on the ground. They don't have to be DOT tires. They just have to be in contact with the ground. So you can't have a 3-wheeler with a spare. I mean, that doesn't count as 4. There has been confusion of mirrors. The biggest thing we get is people wanting to do mirrors on them, and mirrors are not required. In fact, it says, I'll just read you what the state says. You have to have a street legal vehicle is any vehicle with a bench seat in a side-by-side with 1 seat for every rider. You have to have a seat belt for every rider. You have to have a motor bigger than 400 cc's. And then you have to have all equipment required by the provision of section 12-201 through 12-232. Mirrors falls at 12-403. It's way down on the line. It's not even required, and people say, well, they're required in vehicles. Well, the state specifically says you need this equipment, and that piece of equipment starts at 403. So mirrors theoretically are not required. Even a horn actually falls at 403, so a horn's not required. What you do have to have are marker lights, front and rear, that have to be visible from 1,000 feet. The rear ones have to be no closer than 18 inches together. The rear ones have to be red. You have to have markers on every corner. You have to have reflectors on every corner. Up front, you can have turn signals, can be white, any shade of amber to white, or any shade in between. And then they go into specifics as far as how high they have to be off the ground, the spacing of that. But basically, if you have markers front and rear, you have brake lights, you have turn signals front and rear, and they all have to be visible from 1,000 feet. That gets into it, of course, in a tag. You know, that's what cost us the most. We think about these things, and putting these street legal kits on this is costing something. But by the time you go, if you've never titled your vehicle, if you've never titled that side-by-side, or you bought one used and didn't title it, it's up towards $1,000 to get a tag. And then, of course, a tag light, and of course the tag has to be visible, I think, from 300 feet is what they say at night. But that's been our biggest thing, is the confusion on what equipment. We do a kit for Phil Cycle, and it's exclusive for the new Yamaha Wolverine and almost all the Yamaha bikes, where most of these street legal kits that you see, they come with the little dots.
Yeah,
Basically,
and they don't show up very much. I've seen a couple of them.
No, they don't show
I would be
up at all.
afraid to get in traffic.
I got into an argument on our site with the guy who actually came in and said, well, that's stupid, you know, they won't be able to see them. And I replied back, well, that's the kit they send us. And then I got thinking about it. You know, that guy's right. He's absolutely right. So what we do on our kits, especially on the rear, we have developed a kit for the Yamaha side-by-sides, only available through Phil Cycle and Yamaha, that integrates the front marker lights and changes them to turn signals.
I'm going to start the video. We've got a video
Yeah,
of a one he's done, and I'm going to let him keep talking, but just so you can see.
your turn signals, and the rear ones also. We usually, on one bike, we use the brake light, or the reverse lights as the turns. Not quite legal, but we're getting around that. But that's one of the neatest things, where we can take the factory equipment that comes on these vehicles and make those work the way they're not supposed to work. And right now, the only place that I know that that's available is on a new Yamaha if you buy it from Phil Cycle. So far, we're not going to release that to the public. Now, we've done some side-by-sides, the Razors, the Razor 4s. We got one in the back that we did today. There's quite a few that we have done, but for the Yamaha, that's one of the fastest bikes, one of the best bikes out there. And Phil Cycle does a wonderful job with Yamaha. And right now, we can only do those for Phil Cycle. But if you have one and you don't want those stupid little dots, and you know, they have their place. We have to, some vehicles that you have to use them on. You just can't, there's not enough surface area. The taillights aren't right. But most of the time, with a little bit of electrical engineering, we can turn most factory brake lights and front marker lights into turn signals.
Well, I think that's going to be a really great thing. I know a lot of different hunters, waterfowl hunters, that we've got to, you know, those fields get muddy, even though they take the UTV on their ATV on a trailer. Still, a lot of times we walk a long ways because we can't go out. We're going to have to go on the road.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's gonna make it where a lot of people
it will
make our world a lot easier.
Yeah.
And we're doing it legally, and that's
Yeah.
the important part. We
Yeah.
want to make sure, you know, we want to be responsible outdoors people and do everything legal.
Mhm.
And you know, this is going to solve a lot of issues I know I run into.
Yeah. And it's one and done. Once you do it, then you know it's always there. If you decide, even if you don't go out on the road, even if you're not deciding to go do it, if you put that on there, just like any other equipment, one day you might want to use it, and it's there for you. I don't know that I agree with all the states, stuff on this, because I think there's always going to be those irresponsible people out there that take advantage of this for the wrong reason. But it's a good moneymaker for the state. They're getting a lot of tax money, and that's great, and that helps us out. But it's good for our industry. It sells more side by sides, and we do more electronics and stuff of that nature on them. You can put, buy a kit. There's all kinds of kits. Oh my gosh! I think what you need to do is do your research, or call a professional shop, because the kits that they sell, those, the ones with the toggle switches, you can buy for a couple $100. They're just not easy to use, and that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, most of the time, if you're going to use a piece of equipment, you want it to be easy to use. And all our switches, all our stuff is either backlit, labeled, direction that you're going. Which direction. When you hit left turn, you're going left turn. Light sits there and flashes. And in fact, we have the new ones for the Razor 4s that integrate on the dash. The dash actually has the turn signals built into it. So your cluster actually shows which direction you're turning.
I was looking at, does anybody have any questions? I'm trying to check the comments.
Don't check the comments. My guys are in the back watching.
If you have a comment, just text it on there or comment on there, and I will try to answer or have them answer the questions.
We've actually, that's what all these sheets of paper are. I'm a very technical guy by nature, and as soon as they passed this, we had Highway Patrol tell us that no, the turn signals had to be amber. Well, the state says they don't have to be. The state actually specifies the front ones can be white to amber or any shade in between. Well, that's supposedly a law officer telling you something that's not actually true. So I think it's a good idea, and we print these off for all our customers who want them. We'll print you off the requirements, and you keep that in your bike. And when somebody says, "Hey, where's your mirrors at?" pull it out and say 401 says I don't have to have it. And I think
that's a smart idea.
It's education.
Most people, most people don't know what it is, and then unfortunately, a lot of law enforcement won't know all the rules and regulations.
Sure, and I understand.
And there's a lot of confusion. So if you've got the paperwork, you can say, "Hey, we got it right here."
Yeah, you can.
And so that'll solve a lot of problems.
I think the one thing that it has been a problem, and it's so funny that a horn is not required, but reverse lights are. Backup lights.
Well, that makes sense because you can just stand up and yell.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Get out of the way or whatever,
So,
or whatever some of our viewers are saying. Keep it clean out there so that you represent the outdoors good. But yeah, so that's one thing we wanted to come on here real quick, tell you a little bit about it. If you've got any questions, hit Scott up at AutoFX in El Reno. They can fix you up. He can answer all your questions, and they do fantastic work. So all you got to do is hit him up, get it in here, and he can fix you up where you're street legal for this hunting season. So we're going to be doing some more Facebook Lives as we go along. So be sure and keep following us. We're fixing to start doing things on TikTok. So make sure if you're a TikTok viewer, make sure you start watching for us on TikTok. So we appreciate you watching Red Dirt Roots Live, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Fine, but